It's been 10 years. We are so old, aren't we, you and I? Welcome everyone to Katawa Shoujo. I now realize I don't know the proper pronunciation of Katawa Shoujo because I've never heard anyone say it out loud in my life. I am your host, LiveHardman. Thank you for joining me, by the way, on this, which will be surely my finest accomplishment. Let's play of the classic 2012 visual novel, Katawa Shoujo. This is going to be a bit more akin to my JJ series, though I will still make plenty of joke as they come. I'm just not going to force it every few seconds. I just want to go through this again here with you, get your feelings on it and mine, share them with you, as this was a landmark part of pretty much everyone I talked to's 2012 at the time. It certainly shaped my life and made it much, much better. Gave me new perspectives that I probably should have already had. Maybe you'll get some of those yourself, maybe not, maybe you'll just hate it, but I'm happy to have you along for the ride. If you want to check this out for yourself, it's always been free. I'll put a link in the description. You can probably just Google Katawa Shoujo if you don't want to look down and all that. I know it's a lot of work. And, oh yeah, just as another primer, I'm probably not going to cut that much because I adore the music to this game. Very simple, very memorable, and I don't want to cut it around as I do in other games. So hopefully I'll be able to talk good. Barring that I'm cutting right now because I forgot to start my timer. I'll let you know right now I intend to just read through most of this with occasional pauses. Well, probably won't be that occasional for asides, soliloquies, I don't know what the right term is, where I, like Angry Joe, green screen myself in, but I don't have green screen, so I'll have to figure something out and talk to you about what I'm feeling from specific lines and such. But is that really important? Let's start the story. Game? Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna do, probably not silly voices. I don't want Hazao to be just me, because I'm me. A light breeze causes the naked branches overhead to rattle like wooden wind chimes. This is a popular retreat for couples in the summer. The deciduous trees provide a beautiful green canopy, far out of sight of teachers and fellow students. But now, in late winter, it feels like I'm standing under a pile of kindling. I breathe into my cupped hands and rub them together furiously to prevent them from numbing in this cold. This is our player character here, Hazao. I'm now realizing I don't know how a single Japanese-like thing in this game is pronounced, because I've never heard anyone say anything about this game out loud because it was all forum talk. Just how long am I supposed to wait out here anyway? I'm sure the note said 4:00 p.m. That's how people say that, right? Ah yes, the note. Slipped between the pages of my math book while I wasn't looking. As far as cliches go, I'm more of a fan of the letter in the locker, but at least this way shows a bit of initiative. As I ponder the meaning of the note, the snowfall gradually thickens. The snowflakes silently falling from the white-painted sky are the only sign of time passing in this stagnant world. I'm having trouble keeping my breath and talking. Their slow descent upon the frozen forest makes it seem like time is slowed to a crawl. It really doesn't. The rustling of dry snow underfoot, that's not what snow sounds, startles me, interrupting the quiet mood. Someone is approaching me from behind. Hazao, you came. Nobody make cum joke, please. I still do the fucking anti-joke thing. I can't stop. A hesitating, barely audible question. However, I recognize the owner of that dainty voice instantly. I feel my heart skip a beat. It's a voice I've listened to hundreds of times, but never as more than an eavesdropper to a conversation. I turn to face this voice, the voice of my dreams. My heart begins to race. It's fucking Hulk Hogan. Oh, that's just someone else. I don't care. Iwanako, I got a note telling me to wait here. It was yours? Damn it. I spent all afternoon trying to come up with a good line, and that was the result. Pathetic. This guy's too hard on himself. What? I already forgot how I just voiced her. Ah, yes. I asked a friend to give you that note. I'm so glad you got it. A shy, joyous smile that makes me so tense I couldn't move a single muscle, even if I tried to. I just realized I've had the cursor on the screen this whole time. Apologies. My heart is pounding now, as if trying to burst out from my chest and claim this girl for itself, like a Looney Tune of some sort. See, I'm a better writer than this. I know metaphors. So, here we are, out in the cold. Once again, the wind stirs up the branches. The cacophonous noise is music to my ears. Iwanako flinches ever so softly against the gust of wind. As it passes, she rights herself as if supported by some new confidence. Her eyes lock with mine, and she lazily twirls her long dark hair around her finger. All the while, the anxious beating of my heart grows louder. Thump-a-rump, thump-a-rump, thump-a-rump. My note is tight. My throat is tight. I doubt I could even force a word out if I tried. You see, I wanted to know if you'd go out with me. I stand there, motionless, save for my pounding heart, vibrating with motion is what... why am I referencing Y2K, a postmodern RPG at a time like this? This is serious. I want to say something in reply. My vocal cords feel like they've been stretched beyond the breaking point. Hazel? I reach up to try to massage my throat, but this only sends spikes of pain, of blinding pain, along my arms. How do you blind your arms? Hazel? Said that exactly the same like it's the Mummy trailer. My whole body freezes, save for my... That's the Tom Cruise Mummy trailer. My whole body... Where he goes, just for context. My whole body freezes, save for my eyes, which shoot open in terror. Hazel! Probably could have said that a little louder. I don't care about waking up my parents. The beating in my chest suddenly stops, and I go weak at the knees. The world around me, the canopy of bare branches, the dull winter sky, Iwanako running towards me, all of these fade to black. The last things I remember, before slipping away, are the sounds of Iwanako screaming for help and the incessant chatter. Remember to breathe, gamers, of the branches above. Reading in your head is much easier to breathe while doing. 4-Leaf Studios presents. This game was made by 4channer, so you know it's very evil in the eyes of Fox News. Katawa Shoujo, or however the hell you say that. Inspiration is Raita, who has inspired me many times. I don't know who it is, right? I'm not going to read all these. I'm not fast enough. Did you see how fast I goes by? Also not giving you much time to soak in the hospital atmosphere, as I myself do not like it. I've made reference to this in the past, but I haven't revealed the full reason that I am not comfortable with hospitals. As a 6-year-old, I spent a few months in the hospital with leukemia, and that's hard for me to even say, as you may have probably not been able to tell because I'm so confident in all things. I had it from 4 to 6, went into remission after the amazing doctors of Sick Kids Hospital Toronto cured, is that the right word? Treated me. And ever since then I've had the mental imprint of those hospital times in my mind forever. Probably have taken up their offer to see a therapist or something about it. But I was a dumb kid. It's been 4 months since my heart attack, so if you ever want to make me relate to a character, put them in a hospital for 4 or more months. In that whole time, I can probably count the times I've left this hospital room unsupervised on one hand. Yeah, it's a bit like that. 4 months is a pretty long time when you're left alone with your thoughts, so I've had plenty of time to come to terms with my situation. My months were not alone with my thoughts. My mom stayed and slept on the couch of the hospital bed with me, and if you ever hear me complaining about my parents, or specifically my mom, that is the big reason why I can't just give up on her dumbass. Arrhythmia. It's not the reason, that's what I'm reading in the text if you're not looking at the screen. A strange word, a foreign, alien one that you don't want to be in the same room with. A rare condition. It causes the heart to act erratically and occasionally beat way too fast. It can be fatal. Apparently I've had it for a long time. They said it was a miracle that I was able to go on so long without anything happening. Is that really a miracle? I guess it was supposed to make me feel better, more appreciative of my life. It really didn't do anything to cheer me up. My parents, I think, were hit harder by the news than I was. They practically had 2 hemorrhages apiece. I'd already had a full day to digest everything. To them, it was all fresh. They were even willing to sell our house in order to pay for a cure. Thank God I live in Canada. I don't think my parents paid a dime for that treatment, as the way it probably should be. Shouldn't have to ruin your life to make your kid not die of cancer. It's probably too political for the start of this, but I'm a political YouTuber. Because of the late discovery of this condition, I've had to stay at the hospital to recuperate from the treatments. Did I read all those lines? Of course there isn't a cure, is what I missed. When I was first admitted, it felt as if I was missed. For about a week, my room in the ward was full of flowers, balloons, and cards. But the visitors soon dwindled, and the get-well gifts began trickling down to nothing shortly after. I assume the people who wrote this either had some experience or talked to someone with experience in the hospital, because yeah, that's what happens. I realized that the only reason I'd gotten so many cards and flowers was because sending me their sympathy had been turned into a class project. Maybe some people were genuinely concerned, but I doubt it. Even in the beginning, I barely had visitors. By the end of the first month, only my parents came by on a regular basis. Iwanako was the last stop visiting. After 6 weeks, I never saw her again. We never had that much to talk about when she visited anyway. We didn't touch the subject that was between us on that snowy day ever again. The hospital? It's not really a place I'd like to live in. The doctors and nurses feel so impersonal and faceless. At least I didn't have that. All the nurses and such at child hospital were extremely good and friendly. I guess it's because they're in a hurry and they have a million other patients waiting for them, but it makes me feel uncomfortable. For the first month or so, I asked the head cardiologist every time I saw him for a rough estimate of when I'd be able to leave. He never answered anything in a straightforward way, but he told me to wait and see if the treatment and surgeries worked. So I idly observed the scar that those surgeries left on my chest slowly change its appearance over time, thinking of it as some kind of an omen. I still asked the head cardiologist about leaving, but my expectations are low enough now that I'm not disappointed anymore when I don't get a reply. The way he shuffles around the answer shows that there is at least some hope. At some point, I stopped watching TV. I don't know why. I just did. Maybe it was the wrong kind of escapism. For my situation, my escapism of choice was video games in my hospital room. I have difficulty talking about this. I'm 27 years old. It's been 11 years, and I have difficulty talking about this still. My escapism was the small TV in the corner of the room with a Super Nintendo, and my parents bought me a Game Boy Color and Pokemon Gold, I assume, because they at least didn't want their child to die sad. Yeah, that's what got me big into the video games. That was a good escape. I started reading instead. There's a small library at the hospital, although it was more like a storeroom for books. I began working my way through it, one small stack at a time. After consuming them, I would go back for more. I found that I liked reading, and I think I even became a bit addicted. I started feeling naked without a book in my hands, but I loved the stories. That was what my life was like. The days became increasingly hard to distinguish from each other, differing only by the book I was reading and the weather outside. It felt like time blurred into some kind of gooey mass I was trapped inside instead of moving within. A week could go by without me really noticing it. Sometimes I'd pause in a realization that I didn't know what day of the week it was. That is a very common thing in depression. If you're feeling like you don't know what day it is, it might be time to talk to someone, not to preach and give you advice. But other times, all the things that surrounded me would painfully crash into my consciousness through the barrier of nonchalance I had set up for myself. Luckily, as a child, I didn't really understand what was going on at my time in the hospital. People just told me that I was sick and I had to stay, and I would just wonder when I'd get out. I think eventually I just stopped asking and just accepted that that was what my life was. I don't think I thought of it as a 6-year-old. Just the acceptance came naturally that, yeah, I'm in the hospital, I'm sick, it hurts, and I'm sad, but at least I have my video games and such, and my mom here with me who goes out of her way to go buy me McDonald's every day because I'm a stupid little kid that doesn't like the hospital food. Wouldn't say it ever got easier when I accepted, but I at least don't remember every single day. That's nice. Just sort of a lot of flashes with some very in-depth memories. The pages of my book would start to feel sharp and burning hot, and the heaviness in my chest would become so hard to bear that I had to put the book aside and just lay down for a while, looking at the ceiling as if I was going to cry. But that happened only rarely, and I couldn't even cry. Today, the doctor comes in and gives me a smile. He seems excited, but not very. It's like he's trying to make an effort to be happy on my behalf. My parents are here. It's been a few days since I've last seen them. Both of them are even sort of dressed up. Is this supposed to be some kind of special occasion? It's not a party, though I do have to pee. Maybe they're dressed up for that. Oh no, I pressed right click and clicked out of thing instead of bringing up the pause. Hopefully, that's probably fine. I have to pee. Did I say 11 years ago for when I was 6 years old when I'm 27? I may have been thinking about crossed wires when I stopped having to go for checkups was when I was 18. And you know, 18 to 27, that's almost 11 years, right? So, faux pas there. Back to the story. There is this ritual the head cardiologist has. He takes his time, sorting his papers, then setting them aside as if to make a point of the pointlessness of what he just did. Then he casually sits at the edge of the bed next to mine. He looks me in the eyes for a moment. "Hello, Hazao. How are you today?" I don't answer him, but I smile a little back at him. "I believe you can go home. Your heart is stronger now, and with some precautions, you should be fine. We have all your medications sorted out. I'll give your father the prescription." The doctor hands a sheet of paper to my dad, whose expression turns wooden as he reads it quickly. So many. I take it from his hand and take a look myself, feeling numb. How am I supposed to react to this? The absurdly long list of medications staring back at me from the paper seems insurmountable. They all blend together in a sea of letters. This is insane. Side effects, adverse effects, contraindictions, I think they meant, is that a word? And dosages are listed line after line with cold precision. I try to read them, but it's so futile. I can't understand any of it. Attempting to only makes me feel sicker. All of this for the rest of my life, every day. If you're wondering, no, I don't have to take any medications. I'm afraid that is the best we can do at this point. However, new medications are always being developed, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that list fade over the years. Years? What kind of confidence booster is that? I'd have felt better if he hadn't said anything at all. Also, I've spoken with your parents, and we believe that it would be best if you don't return to your old school. What? Please calm down, Hazao. Oh, that's Dad, sorry. Please calm down, Hazao. Listen to what the doctor has to say. Calm down? The way he says it tells me he knew full well that I wouldn't like it. Am I going to be homeschooled? Whatever my concern shows, it's ignored. We all understand that your education is paramount, However, I don't think that it's wise for you to be without supervision. At least not until we're sure that your medication is suitable. So, I've spoken to your parents about a transfer. It's a school called Yamaku Academy that specializes in dealing with disabled students. Disabled? What? Am I? It has a 24-hour nursing staff, and it's only a few minutes from a highly regarded general hospital. The majority of students live on the campus. Think of it as a boarding school of sorts. It's designed to give students a degree of independence while keeping help nearby. Independence? It's a school for disabled kids. Don't try to disguise that fact. If it was really that free, there wouldn't be 24-hour nursing staff, and you wouldn't make a hospital nearby a selling point. Of course, that's only if you want to go. But your mother and I... that's father. They have the same color. It's confusing. I mean, their name in the text, not their skin. Of course, that's only if you want to go, but your mother and I aren't really able to homeschool you. We went out there and had a look a couple of weeks back. I think you'd like it. Looks like I really don't have a choice. Compared to other heart problems, people with your condition usually tend to live long lives. You'll need a job one day. This is a good opportunity to continue your education. This is an opportunity. Don't call it an opportunity. Don't call it a goddamn opportunity. Well, you should be excited at the chance to go back to school. I remember you wanted to return to school, and while it's not the same one... Special school, that's an insult. That's what I want to say. It's a step down. It's not what you think. All the students are pretty active in their own sort of way. It's geared towards students that can still get around and learn, but just need a little help in one way or another. Your father's right. Many of the graduates of the school have gone on to do amazing things. A person doesn't have to be held back by their disability. One of my colleagues in another hospital is a graduate. I don't care. A person doesn't have to be held back by their disability. That's what a disability is. I really hate that something so important was decided for me, but what can I do about it? A normal life is out of the question now. It's funny. I always thought my life was kind of boring, but now I miss it. I want to protest. I want to blame this lack of reaction on shock or fatigue. I could easily yell out something now. Something about how I can go back to school anyway. But no, I don't say anything. The fact is that I know it's futile. I look around the room, feeling very tired of all this. The hospital, doctors, my condition, everything. I don't see anything that would make me feel any different. There really isn't a choice. I know this. But the thought of going to a disabled school, what are those even like? As much as I try to put a positive spin on this, it's very difficult. But let me try. A clean slate isn't a bad thing. That's all I can think of to get me through this. At least I still have something, even if it is a special school. It's something. It's a fresh start, and my life isn't over. It would be a mistake to just resign myself to thinking that. At the very least, I'll try to see what my new life will look like. Act 1. Life expectancy. The gate looked far too pompous for what it was. In fact, gates in general seem to do that, but this one especially so. Red bricks, black wrought iron and gray plaster assembled into a whole that didn't feel welcoming at all. I wondered if it looked like what a gate for a school should look like, but couldn't really decide. Probably no. Of course, I didn't want to get stuck on thinking about the gate for too long, so I entered through it with a brisk pace that felt surprisingly good. Moving forward feels good. So I walked towards the main building of Yamaku Academy with this brisk pace. I'm alone, as my parents are taking my stuff to the dorms, and there's supposed to be someone waiting for me. The grounds are incredibly lush, filled with green. It doesn't feel like the kind of grounds a school would have, more like a park, with a clean walkway going past trees and the smell of fresh-cut grass and all other park-like things. Words like clean and hygienic pop into my mind. It makes me shudder. I shake them off. Stay open-minded now. It's your new life. You have to take it as it comes. That's what I tell myself. A few big buildings loom behind the leafy canopies. Too big and too many for just a school. Everything seems off. It's different from what I thought I knew about schools. It's an uncanny valley. Even though I was told this is my new school, in the back of my head it doesn't feel like one. I wonder if the feeling is real, or caused by my expectations of a school for the disabled. Speaking of that, I don't see anyone else here. It's kinda eerie. That's actually sort of part and parcel for visual novels, buddy. It makes me wish there was somebody here so I could anchor myself to something tangible, instead of having this feeling that I stepped into another dimension. Is this what Joe Rogan sees when he does his DMT? Boy, I sure get a lot of mileage out of the Joe Rogan DMT, huh? The trees hum with the wind, and the green hues flashing all around me catch my attention. It makes me think about hospitals again, how they say that operating rooms are painted green because green is a calming color. So why am I feeling so anxious despite all this greenery? Only after I stand in front of the haughty main building, I surprise myself by realizing why the gate bothered me. It was the last chance I had to turn back, even if I had no life I could return to. But still, after entering, there was absolutely no way I could go back anymore. Feeling nervous, and with this realization set in my head, I open the front door. A tall man with bad posture notices me as I enter. We're the only people in the lobby, so it's only logical. You must be whoa, buddy, hey, take it easy. Low-hanging fruit joke, nah. I should give him a voice. Oh, he's a teacher man, same as Doc. You must be a Nikki? Nakai, sorry. I have a voice. So you are. Excellent. I'm your homeroom and science teacher. My name is Muto. Please tell me how to do the OU Japan in the comments. Welcome. We exchange a handshake that is neither firm nor sloppy, and he looks at his watch. The head nurse asked you for a brief check-in visit, but there's no time for that now. Oh, should I go later? Yes, afternoon is probably fine. We should get going and introduce you to the rest of the class. They're waiting already. Waiting for me? I don't like being the center of attention, but I guess it's inevitable in a situation like this. Somehow, not knowing what's waiting for me is making me feel nervous. Thinking of this, I almost miss what the teacher's saying. Do you want to introduce yourself to the class? So, if you're unaware, Katawa Shoujo here, as many visual novels, has choices, both moral and of just why not have a choice here. And the choices decide which of the many girls you go the route of for your story. And I've decided that we're going down a specific route. I should probably get a flowchart for that. And to get a specific girl, you have to make specific choices. If I were to take my own path of feeling, if you're curious to know the game, I always end in the Lily route because that's the way the choices go. I suppose I'll talk about them as I get to them. Where's my chart? Chart says ask why. In that situation, I'd definitely prefer to introduce myself rather than the alternative of either walking in awkwardly or having someone else do it for me. But since we're role-playing a route, Hazao is also a very meek character, you'll find out, I'm sure. Is that how you say Hazao? Why? Do I have to? Of course not. That's why I asked. Right. Let's go then. My heart is pounding in my chest, and it keeps me thinking about my condition as I follow the teacher up the stairs. The third door down the third floor corridor is marked as the classroom for class 3-3. Muto opens the door and enters. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late again. I hesitate for a split second at the door, freezing on the spot. Get a grip. This is a big step, I know that, but there isn't any point to worrying so much about it, at least not this soon. I follow the teacher into the classroom and look around, partially so I won't have to meet the curious gazes of my new classmates. It's pretty spacious. The ceiling is unusually high, and there's lots of space left over around and in between the desks. An entire wall taken up by blackboards, and the high, old-fashioned windows only make it seem larger. The students' desks are just standard wooden desks with a shelf underneath. Shouldn't it be with shelves underneath? For books, and wooden chairs with metal frames. Maybe not, I don't know, I'm not a writer of any kind anymore. Simple and efficient. I stop walking in front of the classroom and face the other students. They all look normal, like students in any other school, but then, why would they be here? They're probably like me and have something wrong with them, only it's just not immediately obvious. Then, I notice that one of the girls seems to be missing the thumb of her right hand. It is a little jarring. Despite the natural tendency to listen when someone's talking about you, I tune out the teacher's speech halfway through while he introduces me to the class. I was just thinking about how that guy in the top right there it isn't so acceptable both anymore, and at the time this was made, since this is a 4chan affair for free, I'm guessing this didn't have to worry about getting past lot checks and stuff in games, your compliance, whatever, certification to be on platforms. Despite the natural tendency to listen, I tune up, blah blah blah, already said that. I notice a flash of dark hair and see that someone is looking at me. A girl with really long, straight hair that is pretty eye-catching. As she sees me looking back at her, she covers her face with her hands as if it will make her invisible. There's one boy with a cane leaning against the lockers at the rear of the class. It's weird seeing someone so young with a cane. Another girl seems to be making some weird hand motions. Sign language? She peers at me over the rims of her glasses, then goes back to whatever she's doing. She's kind of cute. So is the cheery-looking girl with the pink hair sitting next to her. She's really hard to miss. I don't know how I didn't notice her the moment I walked in. Please welcome our newest classmate. He claps his hands, and so does everyone else. I guess they did it silently, except one girl in the first row, who has only one hand. They probably did it silently because, you know, it's Japan. They have different sensibilities there. They don't like being loud. I cringe a little, but I hide it by bowing in thanks for this applause I did not deserve. After the applause, there's a brief silence that nobody seems to want to be responsible for breaking. The teacher soon realizes that he should probably say something. He opens up with some unintelligible noise, shuts up as he loses his momentum, and then starts introducing me. Nobody seems to be too interested. Maybe I should have said yes to the self-introduction thing. Probably realizing he doesn't know anything about me, he just ends up saying my name wrong again and asks me to write it on the blackboard. I do that and turn back to face the class, feeling awkward. I listen to the teacher as he drones about getting along while letting my gaze sweep across the classroom. Everyone seems to be listening to him intently, and when he's done, they clap their hands again, which feels like a weird thing to do. The first row girl claps on this round, with her one hand against her own wrist that ends in a bandaged stump. It makes me feel a little bad. We're going to be doing some group work today, so that'll give you a chance to talk with everyone. Is that okay with you? Yeah, it's fine with me. That's good. You can work with Hakamichi. She's the class representative. She can explain anything you might want to know. And who else would be able to do that better, right? How could I know? The teacher passes out the day's assignments, announces that we'll be working in groups of 3. It hits me that I don't know who Hakamichi is. Slow, the teacher seems to catch my helpless expression. Oh, right. Hakamichi is right there. Shizune Hakamichi. Please leave a comment how to say Shizune and I'll see it in 4 weeks and then be able to correct myself after. And I guess on that note, don't want to make this run 50 hours as much as I'd like to do this all in one part. I don't want to spend that much time editing, and I can stretch it across days so you don't have to yell at me for not putting out any episodes. That's all reasoning. Thank you. We will find out who Shizune/Sizune/Microsoft Zune Hakamichi is in the next episode. Let me know your initial feelings on this, if you think this is worth you continuing to listen to. Let me know what you thought about anything I've said. I've already forgotten if I made any commentary after the hospital part at all. I am going to continue this regardless of what you think. I hope you like it, and I will see you in the next one. I have to pee again.